For all intents and purposes, the following recordings are fictional. If it wasn't, Gregory would be in a lot of trouble with the council. This is a real American wizard in a hypothetical wizarding world. Now let's turn our seeing stones and scry upon the orb.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard, the wonderful wizard. Say, cut it up, whiz, cut it up. Say, cut it up, whiz.
Great goblins, green ghouls, purple orcs, and your mom's bathrobe. Welcome back to another episode of Magic Orb, the only podcast by wizards, for wizards, by goblins, for goblins. I'm not a goblin, but I goblin mac and cheese, one of the best non-magic inventions in the world. Thank you everybody for listening. It's been pretty good week here at Magic Orb Towers. I've been seeing a phantom. A phantom has romantically been interested in me, and we put up on the orb the other day. We scried into the ancient historical masterpiece that is There and Back Again, the story by Frodo Baggins. Watch that. Very cool. I love seeing, kind of the old text reimagined. And it is, I think Gandalf is some of the best wizard representation. I think he makes us look really cool. I do think we have to remember that he is kind of an angel, right? He does commune directly with Eru Ilúvatar. He's a direct emissary of Eru Ilúvatar, and when my lady Phantom asks me, "Hey, Gregory, Gregorus, can you defeat a Balrog?" Like, you're gonna say yes, but it's also like, if that ever comes up, she's gonna find out you were lying, because you're lying. Like, there's 3 people who can beat a demon of that size, right? One of a Balrog's an archdevil, if I remember correctly, right? They couldn't even show in the reimagining in the orb. In the reimagining of the orb version of There and Back Again, a story by Frodo Baggins, you can't even see all the details. Like, a Balrog's got 50,000 little horns on them that spew lava. You know how many protect from lava scrolls you have to beat a Balrog? And Gandalf just makes it look, like they're perfectly equally matched as a wizard, just because he's a wizard. It's not. It's because he's an archdevil, the Balrog, and he's like this great angel sent by Eru Ilúvatar. That's why Saruman falling to the dark side is so bad, because that's another angel. All these wizards they've got divine magic that I could never even hope to get. Partly because I don't even want to. I mean, I could, sure, I could, but it's a lot of work, and I get tired. So, cool for only calling yourself a wizard, and you don't specify you're also an angel, Gandalf. You shall not pass being a wingman. Okay? Very cool dude, though. Very cool dude. But yeah, not a lot of other magic in there. Shelob, the great spider, is magic, because she'll eat a magic star or something, right? The elves are kind of magic because they can take broken pieces of a sword and forge them into the same sword. That's not how forging works, right? That's not, you can't put shattered pieces of a sword back into the same shape sword. You have to melt down all that steel, put it back again. So that, I mean, they did use magic to do that. That's how they did it. But I don't think a lot of people realize that. They're just reforge Narsil, right? That's not okay. You can't just reforge Narsil like that. You can't reforge just. It takes elves. And like you have to be on really good speaking terms with elves, right? It took Elrond's personal smiths to do that. Elrond's gone. We can't even talk to him anymore. It's crazy. Like if you have one of those Palantir, one of those like super like evil seeing stones, it is interesting seeing, the direct possession from Saruman to King Theoden. He like talks through him for a little bit, right? I kind of wish I could just like, you lightly possess a friend. I wish I could just do that as a prank. That's fun. But they would have to have like those cobweb eyes. That's creepy. You just get another wizard to break up with their girlfriend. Although getting cast out by Gandalf really looked like it hurt. By the time those trees hit the first tower, uh Saruman looked pretty rough. Like he might have jumped from that tower. Too bad Worm Tongue, Worm Tail. Man, worms get a lot of flack, right? You think about all of the Magiverse, all of the bad descriptions of worms, right? Worm tail, worm tongue. They're always like slippery little guys. When worms, you need a lot of night crawlers to make a lot of potions. They're kind of the lifeblood of the alchemy community. But then people attach that to poisons, right? But not everyone who's using alchemy, using potions, not all of them are doing it in nefarious ways. They're not everybody's making poisons. The poison market is only like, 5% of the potions market. And usually they're specialized. Like if a human drinks a poison specifically for hellhounds, right? The human's going to be fine because in that poison, it's a lot of divine magic. That's what you want to give to hellhounds. So it is messed up that even poisons, of all the potions that are made, only 5% are poisons. Of that 5%, only 10% of that are poisons specifically made for humans. I really should invest in a no drip candle. Like that dripped so much wax. Now that candle's going to go down in strength a while. Come on. You got to have them for the right rituals, right? That one specifically is mint scented because mint, it kind of gets a protective area around pixies. And I kind of have a feud with a couple different pixies right now. I don't want to talk about that, because they're going to use this. They're going to use this against me. They're going to use the footage of Magic Orb against me. You know how pixies are so litigious with the council? Come on, I can't deal with them. Right? So I got to have a mint candle going. But casting a never spill wax, a never ending wax, that's almost as expensive as a Gabrathian fire, a never ending fire stick. So it's almost just not worth it, right? Sometimes really cool enchantments, people are like always like, oh, you learned magic so that you could do all of these cool things. Sure, I can do all of these cool things, but either it's way more difficult or it's too expensive. Okay? Yeah, I can cure most non magic illnesses for sure. Do I want to put in all that work? I don't know. I don't know. But enough rambling from me. I did get a number of ravens over the past week coming and dropping off scrolls. I've opened them. I've picked out a couple, and we're gonna take a look. Some of them I haven't seen. Some of them I have. Um, a lot of you, if you're sending messages across the portals, make sure that you code it with some kind of fire retardant, because like they're all burnt up, and it's I don't know what you're doing to the ravens that are bringing them, but these scrolls are kind of messed. All right, let's get to the first one. What spell can a hag cast on you? And this is from Rag the Hag. I feel like you would know, Rag, unless you're a budding hag, unless you've just been born from another hag's belly. If so, welcome to the world. Please do not find me threatening, or please do not threaten me, Rag, because really, I just don't want another wart infestation. That's one of the big ones, hags, and you, Rag, could cast. A wart spell, it seems inconvenient, and it really is truly a pain. A bad wart spell, too. If you get really powerful at warts, you can make entire body parts into one wart. You ever seen a dude with a wart arm? Yuck. Only people who want to talk to him are half toads. I don't want to talk to a half toad. I want to talk to a phantom, a very pretty phantom. Warts really stink. Because then sometimes you can just use like blizzard magic on the wart, but that's unreliable. So they usually grow back, and then sometimes you just amputate your arm because it gets frostbitten. What other spells can hags? I mean, hags are some of the best uh, potion makers out there. Hags are really good at making potions because, like, a lot of people don't, and I hate to address the full discrimination here, but like it has to be said, people don't like to look at hags. They don't. People don't like to look at hags. They would rather, um, you know, buy a potion from you and not have to see you do the magic in person. If you could sell, if you're a hag and you can make a bunch of potions and then sell that to someone who will deal with you, you usually can get a lot better prices. Like if you use a intermediary, a third, a third person, you usually can get a lot better prices on your potions. Rag, what other advice? What other spells? They're doing hags. They're doing a lot of nature stuff, right? You know who doesn't care what you look like? You know who cares about the beauty inside? Animals, right? Squirrels. Songbirds, not though, right? Like really showy songbirds, they are really stuck up, and they like you can tell by their plumage, right? For sure. But almost every mammal does not care what you look like. They don't care too bad how you smell, right? Because if you're a hag and you smell like wet dog, hey, hey, all dogs smell like wet dog if they live in the wild. So, so summon a bunch of dogs to attack your enemies, summon a bunch of bears to attack someone who insults you. It's really tragic, like what the hag community goes through. Um, I haven't had any to my tower, but Rag, if you want to get on the program, maybe we can work. I might move soon, but maybe. Um, Hags can cast a lot of spells, almost every spell that everyone else can cast, except for certain divine things. So there you go. There you go, Rag the Hag. Okay, this next question is from Homath. What's up, Homath? Thank you for asking a question. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of related to. I think that's why I had this in my head. What spell would I cast on my dog to remove fleas? You could get a potion. Listen, a lot of things, if you're not good at spellcasting, you can accomplish with potions. Uh, Poisons, right? There are flea poisons. You could get a really weak one from a non-magic veterinary. I don't know if they realize that they're doing magic with, their flea poison, but otherwise you can go to the Grand Exchange. You can go there and you can get any kinds of remove pest, a reverse infestation potion. That's also just a spell you could cast, a reverse infestation spell. If you want to make sure that your dog or cat or any kind of pet, if you want to make sure that they are immune from fleas, you can cast it as a ritual that does take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, and you do. But if your dog is an animal familiar, they can assist you with that. So it kind of gives them a confidence boost, really. If your animal familiar, if your dog is helping you cast, remove, reverse infestation on themselves, they helped themselves, and that can possibly get them some more experience. You might be able to level up your dog quicker. Um, might be able to grow them big enough to ride, which is like something that I've always wanted to do and never had time for. So you could cast remove hair on your dog, which the fleas usually hide in the hair. You then have to wash your dog. The skin. You have to make sure you apply sunscreen on your dog. It's not as practical, but it would work. Um, I do like seeing hairless dogs. I think they look funny. I like to laugh at them. And also, who says fleas are bad? I've got a colony of fleas in a little jar in my tower, right? You drop a little pieces of meat in there, they go crazy. And if you cast enlarge on them and then you send them into an opposing kingdom, whew, do they do some damage? So you could use your dog as a bit of a flea farm, and take those fleas and use them against your enemies. Uh, Great question. Thank you, Homath. Homath? It's probably Homath. Homath? Kind of math some people do. This next question comes from Gary with an E. Gary. Oh, yeah, just Gary. Okay, cool. Says, I love Fireball, but hurt a lot of my allies when I use it in a corridor, in a room, in a dungeon. How do I exclude my allies from getting hit by Fireball? It's tough because I tell you guys every single episode, cast Fireball. It's my go-to, right? It's one of the first spells, within the first 10 spells I ever cast. Fireball. How do you exclude? I don't know. Sometimes, I'm just saying, sometimes maybe your allies need to get out of the way. Maybe if you're casting Fireball, they deserve to get hit. Maybe if you're casting Fireball, uh, maybe if you're casting Fireball, you're taking care of the problem. I'm going to try to answer this question, but I think that the philosophy behind it is bad. I think that you're a wizard. You have a right to cast Fireball whenever you want. You mastered the arcane and you are bending it to your will. And I don't care if your fighter gets hurt. I don't care if your paladin has to use, channel oath to heal himself. I don't care. But I'll try and answer the question. How do you exclude your allies? First, you could cast a ward on each of them, protect from my magic, right? It's simple, but it would cost a certain amount of mana. It might cost a spell slot if that's kind of the magic that you use. It's annoying. If you specialize in more sorcery, rather than wizardry, you can use meta magic, right? If you've studied enough meta magic, you can kind of bend a lot of your spells. You can shape a lot of your spells, and so you can bend it around your rogue who is wearing all cloth and no metal. So don't get me started on rogue. But study meta magic, and you can bend your spell around a rogue. You can bend your spell around the barrels of gunpowder that's in the room, but that you knew were there and you wanted to light on fire, but everybody told you that you shouldn't. Like the artificer's like, oh, I can use the gunpowder in the future. The artificer's like, oh, we can create firearms. We can. Like, I don't think artificers realize here, hey, bang, bang, here's my firearms. I'm a wizard. I cast fireball. What's different from what's different from an artificer shooting one of those non-magic projectile shooters and me shooting you in the face with a fireball? Maybe you should just get better. Like, I know an artificer can be intelligent, so why don't you just get good at the arcane? Why don't you just get good at casting spells rather than messing with gears and springs and sprockets? There's even wizards who use, mechano wizards are a whole thing. Get into that. Get out of artificers. Jeez. Hellfire. Okay, I'm going to try to answer this question. Okay, meta magic. You can cast a ward. Let's see. Fire shield is a good spell because it just absorbs into their shield, makes their shield a little bit stronger. Again, costs a certain amount of mana, costs spell slots, costs, a certain amount of your pact if you've made a deal with the devil. Cast fireball. No, yeah, I think that's it. Just cast it. Don't care what they say. That's my advice. Get a new party. Matter of fact, shoot them with the fireball if they ask you to stop hurting them. I don't care. Maybe they could become a phantom and you guys can hang out later. This next question comes from Tanner. Tanner. Okay. Hi, Greg. Hello. I'm starting my magical journey. I'm 12. I take back the tongue. I'm 12 and I want to start with some potion components that I can easily get. Smart. Great job, Tanner. I started magic when I was about 5. So, some people are different than others. But a potion, starting with potions, great way to start. Some kids even have like the instinct to start with potions. If you ever see a kid make a mud puddle and stir it, oh, that's a little wizard on his way, right? So Tanner, I want to start with some potion components that I can easily get. What are some components that I can find from the forest around my house without alerting my parents? First of all, you probably want to run away from home, right? Parents don't love it when they catch you using magic, right? Some 16-year-olds can get away with like a light grounding if their parents catch them with a Ouija board, unless they're super religious, and that is pretty bad. But if you're really serious about magic, I would think about running away, find an archmage, get an apprenticeship, right? You're old enough, you could do it. But if you just want, if you want to do it in your basement, right? If you have an unfinished basement, you can do it in the toilet that's in your unfinished basement that a lot of non-magic houses have. You could do your potion in there. What are some components? First, I'd look for Spanish moss or tree beard, some people call it. I would look for chicken of the forest, which is, a certain mushroom. I would really, it's mostly lichen and mushroom, and then daffodils are very powerful. If it's in the right season, you put those 3 in a pot. You can make a couple really good potions using that as the base. Let's see. Again, worms, right? If you can do some worm grunting, you take like this big file and you make noise on the ground and these worms come popping out, right? If you cast fart magic, you can do that same thing. The worms are attracted to that. And then you can, from a worm, use most toadstools will work. Use those too, and you can get like a bit of like a really small enhanced perception potion, and then use that potion to find other components for potion making. Really, like you can just like keep boosting yourself. It's very cool if you can do that if you can learn to do that from a young age. You can also like boost your knowledge, boost your abilities. It's a really cool thing to do. So, Tanner, great luck. I'm not accepting any apprentices, but keep asking questions. I'd love to answer any questions from you here at the Magic Orb Tower. Um, and maybe I would have, I know another Archmage that would take you on. But run away from home, Tanner. Cool. This question is from Hamunda. Hammond? I keep getting too close to snail flails or flail snails and get hit, leading to me taking damage and wasting potions or using mana on restoration. How do I kill these really annoying flail snails? It's annoying because their flails are so long, right? A flail snail, like they use their eyes to really whip you. They're really getting at you. And so, like, if you're within range, it's almost within eyesight. They have some innate magic, which allows them to reach a lot farther. So how do you kill a flail snail? Um, you could use a knot spell. I know a lot of people like they think it's a really elementary spell, but it is very advantageous. All you have to do is cast a knot spell, but target the stems of their eyes, which ties up their eyes in a knot, thus reducing them to no longer a flail snail. So that's something very simple that you can do. I've done it 2 or 3 times. I know it works. Um, Otherwise, fireball. If you bake them long enough, they can be pretty tasty, right? So you use fireball 2 or 3 times, then it does. You can get some snail steaks, which are good. Um, why? What are you doing close to the flail snails? What are you doing that close to them though? Like they're only really like in like skeletal dungeons is what like where I've mostly encountered them. And like the loot in skeletal dungeons isn't that good unless you're like, farming femurs. And if that's the case, I don't know, go to a non-magic graveyard, use lift soil, grab a bone, put the soil back down, and you have a femur. That's a lot easier than having to kill 40 skeletons to get enough femurs for whatever spell you're preparing for, right? Probably trying for a ritual spell. I don't know. I'm kind of inferring on a lot of different things off of this question because I don't know. Maybe he lives close to a flail snail, colony. Maybe they keep reproducing near him. Maybe there's a source of powerful magic that's spawning them. Maybe you want to go after that, right? Prepare some scrolls of knot tying and be able to you go into like there's like a group of like 4 or 5 different flail snails. You tie knots on all of them. Man, you're eating pretty for a week. Snail steaks for everybody. Man, you could shoot. Maybe you don't take that magical uh, source of power that's spawning these flail snails, and you start farming them. You sell that to the right artifabrian. You sell that to the right alchemist. You sell that to the right cook, a magical cook. Right? Find the right magical cook. He'll buy all those steaks off of you. Snail steaks are expensive just because they don't spawn that often. Plus, you could get a boost, right? Every time you eat a snail steak, you get a moderate resilience boost. You do get like a weakness to you you do get a weakness to salt, which but like lot of non-magic people have that. A lot of non-magic people can they're what is it? What is it? Sodium. They're not an ingredient in the salt. They can't take. But once that wears off from eating the snail steak, then you're good. Maybe maybe that's part of the thing. Like Maybe eating like a North American diet leads to people becoming slightly snail. Maybe they're part of their essence as a person is part snail now, so that's why they're weak to salt. I don't know. I've just got theories here. I'm not a non-magic doctor. I don't have a big beak on my face, right? I don't have like that mask that makes you look like a bird. But maybe that's why a lot of non-magic people avoid salt, is because they're part snail now, and they don't really realize it. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Hammond, whichever one you are. Couple different things. Get good at the not spell. Okay, next question. What is the difference between an invocation and an evocation? This is from Frida. Frida, if I didn't know any better, I would think you didn't know anything about magic. Invocation, cast the spells in. Evocation, cast the spells out. That's it. That's all. I personally love evocation. I think I'm talking too much about Fireball in this episode, but I'll say it again. Evocation, best evocation spell, Fireball. Or become Lich, which is technically an invocation, though. Hey, I don't know everything, Frida, okay? Frida's judging me, and I know it. They're watching me through the orb and judging me. Don't judge me, Frida. A lot of people, they like casting invocations. They like making themselves strong. A lot of people like casting evocations, attacks their enemies. More people need to stop focusing on that and start focusing on getting a vocation. What are you doing with your magic, right? If you're just casting it on yourself, you're just casting it on others, what's the point? What are you doing it for? What's your avocation? What are you doing for your community, right? What are you doing for the magic orb community? Are you helping support us? What are you doing with your magic? Maybe you use a spell to, get a couple extra silver, maybe a platinum a week, and send that over to the Spelltreon, right? Maybe that should be your vocation. Maybe it's not about evocation or invocation. Maybe it's about your admiration. Maybe it's about your devotion to the magic orb community. Huh? You ever think about that? Frida? I think I put a lot of stank on that because I once knew a really special orc by the name of Frida. She was half orc, half Valkyrie. First Valkyrie I ever met. Maybe you give back to us, Frida, huh? Next question is from Iantwick. I know you got bullied growing up, man. Question: can you make a wand using the spell Fabricate? If you're casting spells with something you magically fabricated, you're dumb. If you're powerful enough to cast Fabricate, to make a wand, to make a staff, to make a tome, then that tome, that staff, that wand is not going to be as strong. You should just make the wand yourself. You should just continue being good at like hand magic, right? You don't always need some of these extra huge casters, right? They're tools, sure, but I don't know. You shouldn't use the spell Fabricate to create a wand. You should use the spell Grow on a tree to grow you a specific branch. Take that branch, make it a wand yourself. It's going to be 3 times as powerful. And sure, you might be able to use the wand that you fabricated, that you just cast Fabricate on, to finish whatever ritual you were trying to do. But buy once, cry once. Spend the time to grow a proper wand, which I don't even like wands. Use the time to create a proper staff. Hello. To finish the rituals you're doing, right? Stop taking shortcuts. Man, I feel like Magic Dave Ramsey this episode. I feel bad. One time I was stuck in a tavern right for the night because there was a magic storm going on, right? You couldn't even cast spells outside of the tavern. There was a ward around the tavern, but I was stuck there, right? And the only entertainment we could get was YouTube. And this troll, a literal troll, kept putting on Dave Ramsey videos, right? We were watching non-magic YouTube, all of this different stuff, and he just kept putting on Dave Ramsey videos. And none of us wanted to step to him because he would have eaten us, but he really loved seeing us get mad at Dave Ramsey. So I'm just saying, take the time, be proud of the magic that you use. Don't take shortcuts and just cast fabricate to do whatever you need. It's going to be stronger, and you're going to be a better wizard at the end of it. Next question comes from Balda, the wizard. What's the best way to summon a familiar? Interesting question. And also, a lot of different ways to approach this. If we're talking a classic animal familiar, we're not talking homunculus, we're not talking imp, we're not talking pixie. Yikes. You're just talking a badger, a dog, a bear, a cub. The best way to summon a familiar, I would say, is to cast Summon Familiar. That's, in my opinion, I know that's kind of a divisive topic around rangers nowadays. A lot of these rangers think you have to find it in the wild, create a bond, and then you cast the familiar spell on it to create that bond that makes you familiars. But you can't just summon familiar, and then a certain type of animal will show up based on your personality and all that. Or if you specified what kind of familiar you want to summon, you can do that too. But I don't know, these rangers. I mean, I was just saying put in the time to create the bond that you have to in order to have more powerful magic. But the animal isn't the magic part. The magic is the magic part. Okay, right? Your bond's still going to be strong. You summoned that familiar. Now, if you do want to get into homunculus, hydrate. Hydration. That's the key, because you're using a good amount of your own blood, and you want to find a right dirt clay mixture. You don't want to have as much sand in it. You want a lot of organic material and clay. And you mix those with your blood, and then you use the right ritual, of course. And that summons a really, really good familiar because they think like you. And so, they're able to do things, I think, personally, quicker. I personally use the undead. I got into necromancy just because, I met this, sentient giraffe, and she was very pretty. And I went to a magic encyclopedia. I looked up necromance. It showed me a lot of things on necromancy, right? Never saw the Toys R Us giraffe again. And that's kind of one of the biggest regrets in my life. And so I kind of use necromancy as a way to remember that lost love. I still wanted a necromance. I would love some necromance. And now I just have necromancy. But what are you going to do? Right? You live and you learn. Now I've got this really beautiful phantom. Right? And she doesn't have a neck because she's a phantom. But maybe she had a neck in a past life. I really should get my Ouija board out. Anyway, that's how you do it, Balda. Next question. This question is from Masim. What happens to the weave if you cast magic missile? The weave? Who's talking about magic like the weave nowadays? Right? Are you a follower of Mistra, Mason? Because if that's the case, you're getting your magic from a divine source. I feel like you're not even like a proper wizard. I no, you're a proper wizard. Don't get mad at me, Mistra. I'm just saying that if you're a strong enough wizard, you don't care. You can become a deity in and of yourself. What happens to arcane vibrations around you? If you cast magic missile, you create a ripple. You create a pretty strong ripple. You create a ripple that impacts space and time. Right? You cast a magic missile right next to a portal. You might end up on a place you didn't mean to go, which is tough. Happens to the weave. I never liked the kind of expression of the weave because it's like it implies that magic is fabric. It's not fabric, it's power. Okay? And Mishra will try to tell you different. She'll send you Elminster to convince you that, you can't rip apart the tapestry of the weave, else I will lose power. Right? Mistra's lost power or died like 3 or 4 times. She's the god of magic, at least in the Swords Coast area. Can't even keep it together. Keep the like that's why I think there's no like proper, deity of magic. Period. There's a lot of different subdomains that people are deities, but me and Elminster can go one-on-one. Fist fight, no magic. I'll take Elminster in a fight today. And tell him that. Send it with an unreliable Raven, but I'll take on Elminster right now. So what happens to the weave? Nothing if you're powerful enough. Anything if you want to deal with those consequences. That's my question answered, Mason. Next question. Why did my summoning ritual blow a hole in the mountain? What were you summoning? Right? Again, you guys have to add more context into here. What were you summoning? How powerful was it? Did you have enough people? Was there something being summoned from inside the mountain? Right? Were you summoning an iron golem, and instead of summoning the iron from the material plane, from the metal plane, from the plane of iron, instead of summoning him from there, did you summon a lot of the metal from the mountain and it all got sucked in like a magnet? Did you do that? Did you try and summon pixies who were in the middle of a fart ritual? I really can't stand those guys. I personally haven't blown any holes in mountains. There are some mountains that I would love to blow a hole in. I did have a friend who did blow up. He was the one who blew up Mount St. Helens, and they got in a lot of trouble with the council for that one. You gotta keep it a little hush hush. So like we were out there, casting memory spells on most people pretty close. Mount St. Helens was a big one, man. Big plume. Because all he was trying to do was bring the realms together in one spot. And, Mount St. Helens was close to him. And I get why that's dangerous and, like, can really have, big ripples in the planes, in the Magiverse. But I'm just saying that, like, he was trying to do a cool thing. He's trying to create a temporal portal. And then he got his magic stripped just for blowing up a mountain. So hopefully you didn't get into a lot of trouble. Hopefully, you're fine. You don't have any problems. I heard about the magical creatures that erupted Pompeii. Apparently it was two lava titans trying to get a little frisky, which is why, now there's only one lava titan allowed in one mountain at a time, right? Otherwise, they have to go back to a different plane. And that's maybe what my buddy was doing with Mount St. Helens. Maybe he was trying to summon too many, you know, lava titans at one time. I don't know the specifics. I remember I met him when I was in wizard jail for a little bit, and he was, cast there. Everybody's got a past. I'll just say that, right? I paid my dues to the Wizard Society. And my question now, as we wrap up this episode, is have you paid your debt to this magic society? Have you joined the Spelltreon? And other than that, I think I am looking forward to this week watching the final part of There and Back Again, a story by Frodo Baggins. We're ready to see if Sauron gets defeated. I don't know. He's a huge eye. I don't know how you defeat an eye. Other than that, have a good week. Send me as many ravens as you want. Tell Elminster we can get it up, and cast Fireball. Bye.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells. This song is sponsored by the Shadow Government. Legalize nuclear bombs. Swag Messiah.